How does a leader become a leader? Is she anointed or is she appointed? Is it in his nature or is he nurtured? I will tackle that very old conundrum about whether a leader is made or born in a provocative manner. And to do so, I need your help. Go back in your memory to when you were 5 or 6 years old, and an adult in your life asked you this very strange question. What would you like to be when you grow up, sweetie? Recall the different answers you might have given to that unusual question. I want to be a doctor, a teacher, a nurse. I want to heal sick kittens. I want to build stuff. I want to be a mommy, a daddy. I want to be a soldier, a policeman, a fireman. I want to fly like superheroes. As you recall the answers you gave to that question, did you give your answer this way? Sir, I want to be a leader. Oh, that is so funny. No one in this room gave that answer. And it's ironic because that's what you became. You became a leader. Now, before you throw tomatoes at me and say, but Ron, I am not a leader, I will give you proof positive that you are. Man, it's really hot in here. I don't know if it's the light. It is just super hot. So just let me put a pause button on this so I can get comfortable. I hear comments. Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Maybe Jenny Butts put a kick me sign on my back. Oh, I know what happened. I like to save money, and there is a new business up on the Sammamish Plateau. And it's a gentleman by the name of Bob, Econo Laundry and Car Wash. Not going back to him, though he does wash dogs super fast. Of course, you can guess that was intentional to make a point. The number one reason that people are reluctant to wear the leader label is of the myth that every leader is perfect. It's not true. And yet it is a great fear that every leader, from the CEOs of Fortune 100 companies to people in this room, have this fear that they will be less than perfect. I came out here and I looked perfect, or at least like I had my act together. And then I became vulnerable and I exposed my flaws. Let's go through the equation. A leader is a human being, and a human being is fallible, which means a leader makes mistakes, which means a leader has flaws. So if you're afraid of confirming, of saying that you are a leader, then get over yourself, because there is no such thing as the perfect leader. I said that I would prove to you that you are a leader. And to do this test, I need you all to stand up. So please, stand up. And as I present situations to you that apply to you, sit down at the first one. If you run a small business or own a small business, take your seat. If you regularly run meetings in which you conduct meetings, have a seat. If you are a part of an organization that is destined to change something, take a seat. And if you are a mother or a father, please sit down. It looks like there's only a couple of people standing. Thank you for doing this. So let's examine the commonalities between a volunteer of an association, a parent, an owner of a small business, or even a change agent. Number one, people are relying on you to get things done in a beneficial way. Number two, you have quite a bit of control over the methods and means of achieving those outcomes. And number three, you influence people through your words and actions. That's what a leader does. So, aha, you are a leader, even though you doubted that. Now, my second test is a little more simple, and all you need to do is to raise your hand in such a way that everybody around you can see you. I will describe three sorts of individuals, and if one of these applies to you, that's when I'd like you to wave your hand. The little I. This person discusses things this way. When somebody goes to them for help, they say, you can either talk to somebody in charge, or you can talk to somebody who knows what's going on. That's me. The little I is a person of influence that people go to because they get things done, they know what's going on, and they're the hub of activity. And when I ask this person, are you a leader? No, please, don't even say that. I am not a leader, and I don't want to be one. So if that describes you, I'd like you to wave your hand so others see you, if you're a little I. If you are a little L, then I will ask you to raise your hand. A little L, when I ask them, are you a leader, they say, not really. I own a business. I volunteer at the church as an officer. I have a team. I lead a department. But no, I am not a leader. I'm not the big mucky muck type. And please don't apply that label to me because I'm uncomfortable. So wave your hand if that's you. Now, the third sort is the big L. This is the person that is a leader, and you know it, and they know it. They have a title of CEO, president, chief mucky muck. They have tremendous responsibilities, wide span of authority, and they're responsible for a lot of people and often employ a lot of people. So if that's you, rather than wave your hand, I'd like you to put the L on your forehead. Please, put the L on your forehead and show the people around you that you are the L. And for those of you that don't have the L on your forehead, these are not losers. They're leaders. You may put your hand down now. All three can or are reluctant leaders. The first type is easy to understand. They are a center of influence, but they really don't define themselves as a leader. The little L is a leader by the responsibilities. They also are uncomfortable being labeled. So you wonder, why is the big L a reluctant leader? A majority of people with a big L on their forehead do not know how to lead. And the people around them are reluctant to follow them. They do more harm than good. They are more destructive than constructive. And they often don't know it. So if you did put the L on your forehead, be aware that you might actually be a reluctant leader of a different sort. I've been all three in my career, and that's why I wrote about that in the Reluctant Leader book. Now, if we put all three letters together, you can understand why early in my career, a coworker, when I admitted I wanted to be an executive, said, Ron, there's got to be something wrong with you if you want to be the one in charge. It is scary to be that person in charge. I will now share with you three keys that will help you to shed your reluctance. So you go from the small I and little l to the big L, to comfortably wear the label of the big L. The first key is to acknowledge and accept your reluctance. It is natural. Over 70% of the people in a leadership role say they are reticent or reluctant to be called the leader. And it's natural once we discover why. When you're the one in charge, you have tremendous responsibilities and obligations. You're very visible, and so people know when you make mistakes. And there's a high cost. And the biggest detriment to wearing that label of leader proudly is the fact that the buck stops with you. You're ultimately accountable. You start down the road to end your reluctance by leading yourself, because you can't lead others until you can lead yourself. The second key to being less reluctant and owning the label and saying, I'm proud to be the one in charge, is for you to understand that leadership is an attitude. It is not a title. It is not a position on an org chart. You don't acquire the experience to be a leader by reading books or by going to college or with age. You gain the wisdom of being a leader by being a leader. It's an interesting conundrum. You can't be a leader until you lead, and the only way you learn how to be a leader is by failing. And it's okay, because you will crash and burn more often than you are successful. And so you help to overcome your reluctance by adopting the leadership attitude, which is, I can and will have an impact and make a difference for others. I can and will have an impact and make a difference for others. Now, the third key to ending your reluctance and being courageous and say, I will lead, is to change your paradigm. Behind me is an image of a door. And this door opens for you and me at least a dozen times a day. It is disguised as hard work, greater responsibility. And so it's scary to go through that door, but really it's a door of opportunity for you to prove to yourself and others what you are capable of. And that door opens when you're in the right place at the right time. You earn a promotion for your hard work. Your boss leaves or becomes ill. You're in a meeting which nothing is getting done, and you say, I have an idea. You're part of a change project that's going nowhere slowly, and you say, this is what I think we need to do. Or you go to your boss and you're passionate about your ideas, and the boss says, make it so. You noticed a void in leadership, and you step through that door. The door is the opportunity. Now, most people that are reluctant leaders are technically trained people with a track record of accomplishment. And on the journey to become the pilot or the teacher or the nurse or the veterinarian, others recognize this unique quality that they had, and they either invited you in the door and opened it for you, or they shoved you through it. Now, for me, several times in my career, this is how I ended up through the leadership door. Pooh! Get in there, Ronald! And so I entered in a tremendous amount of agony. So the most amazing thing about being a leader is that once you shed your reluctance, you own it and shed it, you also change your paradigm about what leading is about, and you walk through that door, a miracle happens. You will always be a leader. It never leaves you. You will recognize the door every time it opens. You will no longer be afraid when there is a void in leadership. You will recognize the opportunity to make a difference in others' lives. That's the important part. Now, I'm softening you up for what's coming next, which is the hard facts. To be an effective leader, to get things done through others, you must have respect. But when your reluctance shows to others, they ignore you. They go around you, and they don't respect you. And once that happens, it's extremely hard to regain that respect. The second reason is that in a typical organization, bad leadership can cost your company as much as 7% of your gross revenues. 7% of your gross revenues. Number 3, one bad leader in an organization can cost up to $126,000 in absenteeism, low productivity, turnover, and people fighting one another. And the fourth reason I encourage you to be less reluctant is 44% of American workers say they work for an abusive boss. People who strive to be good leaders, who own their obligations, make everybody better in the organization. People who don't want to lead or are bad leaders harm everyone in the organization. You have a choice. Do you want to make a difference and make everyone better? Or do you want to cause harm? And the reluctant leader, unfortunately, does cause tremendous amount of harm because they don't recognize their reluctance. And so there's plenty of opportunities each and every day for you to lead. The door opens a tremendous amount of times. Now, I will share with you 5 suggested action things that I'd like you to do, action steps, and an analogy that will close out my presentation. Before I do that, though, I'd like to tell you about my experience at leading. I was all 3. I was the small I, the little L, and the big L. I have flamed out. I have caused more harm than good many times. I crashed and burned. And I would go through it again because that's how I learned to become a leader. You learn leading by being a leader. So be willing to take the opportunity to shed your reluctance. And when the opportunity arises, walk through that door. My biggest lesson that I learned about leading is when I went through that door and I looked behind me, I couldn't tell if the people behind me were actually following me or chasing me. It all looks the same. So I will be the provocateur one more time, and I will share with you 5 suggested actions that you could take. In fact, let me be the provocateur even more and challenge you to do all 5. And as you sit there and relax and contemplate which of these 5 you want to take on, let me close with an analogy of what leadership is truly about and the journey of ending your reluctance and owning the label of leader. You work for an organization that's very creative, and people like to show their expressiveness. And you need a new pair of shoes. But they're the shoes that you want. You don't want ordinary shoes. You want something special. You go through Nordstrom's, and there is a pair of shoes that makes your eyeballs pop out of your head. So you go check them out. And they are amazing shoes. You are just amazed. You said, these shoes, I like them. I think I want them. And you turn them over and you look at the price and you swallow a lung. They are expensive. But you realize, you obsess that you've got to have them because they are definitely you. So you take a risk and you try them on. And they feel so wonderful. They really are a statement about who you are. And of course, the sales clerk says, they complete you. And so you, despite the high price, you decide to take them home. And the moment that you put them on, they hurt your feet. They're painful. But yet you continue to walk around them to get comfortable. And the more that you walk, every time you take them to work, people go, oh my gosh, you look at you, come here, look at those shoes. Those are amazing shoes. And so you wear them more and more, and you get more comfortable. And finally, you find that you're wearing them all the time because they are now part of you. And you find that you take good care of them, you keep them clean, and more importantly, you wear them so much that you never take them off. You even wear them to bed when you're having sex. So if you take my metaphor and take out the word shoes and insert the word leading, now you know how a leader becomes a leader. Thank you very much.